Good afternoon. I'm the trustee Angelo Vivolo, and I am pleased to officially call to order this Manhattan Borough hearing and public hearing on the calendar items on the agenda for the Board of Trustees regular meeting on Monday, December 15th. On behalf of the board, I would like to thank President Vincent Boudreau and his staff for their assistance on hosting this hearing. Before I call on the first speaker, I would like to acknowledge my colleagues on the board, as well as members of the Chancellery who have joined me today. Welcome Vice Chair Sandra Wilkins, Trustee Versani, Trustee Polak, Chancellor Felix Matos Rodriguez, Interim University Provost Alicia Alvero, COO Senior Vice Chancellor Hector Batista, General Counsel and Senior Chancellor for Office of Legal Affairs Derek Davis, Senior Vice President Chancellor Sasha Owen, Vice Chancellor Denise Maybank, and Vice Chancellor Mohammed Atala. Also welcome to the Macular Honors College Dean Dara Byrne, Interim President of Gutman Community College Elizabeth Day Bakwa, Hunter College President Nancy Cantor. In order to ensure maximum participation, we ask that you please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. If you wish to speak on more than one item during your 3 minutes, please do so. If you are unable to finish your testimony in the allotted time, please note that pursuant to the bylaws of the Board of Trustees, a summary of the testimonies and copies of your written statements will be distributed to the trustees and chancellery prior to the regular board meeting. Before you begin to speak, please identify yourself, state your affiliation for the record, and if applicable, identify the calendar item you will be addressing. Your remarks will be timed by Ms. Taisha Mitchell. You will be able to see how much time you have left by looking at the digital timer, which will flash yellow once when you have 30 seconds left, and flash red and beep when your time is up. At this point, please complete your sentence, drop your written statement in the box near the lectern, and return to your seat. Please be aware, disruption of this hearing is not permitted. Disruptive behavior may include, but is not limited to, vulgar or hostile language designed to intimidate or threaten violence. Violent threats made against or targeting any attendee, individual, or participant, and behavior that is intended to create a hostile environment. Individuals responsible for such misconduct will be removed and may be subject to disciplinary action and or other sanctions. I will now ask the Secretary of the Board to call the speakers. Thank you.
The first speaker is Jihan Takal Liu, followed by Jean Grassman.
Hi, my name is Jihan Takal Liu, and I'm an adjunct lecturer at City College. Welcome to my campus. You don't need to sit so far away from us and treat us like security threats. We work here. Thanks for making us wait 30 minutes out in the cold. It was extremely dignified. I worked in precarious and underpaid positions at various CUNY campuses for more than a decade now, where our labor as instructors and researchers is extremely undervalued. Often we have to witness our students struggle to access the essential services that every college student needs and deserves, especially the first-generation students and who make up a significant portion of our campuses. Now, on top of this, we as faculty and staff have to face fear of retribution for teaching our students about international law and human rights. That's what I teach on this campus, Introduction to International Studies. What's next? Retribution for teaching about diversity in the most diverse city on earth. We are a union that represents 30,000 members, and New York is a union town. Don't forget that. We're demanding that CUNY restore our academic freedoms and give us the budget increases we need and deserve to serve this city. We've had legionnaires on this campus. We had to come back to this campus while there was legionnaires on this campus this semester, together with 20,000 students, Our working conditions are despicable, and frankly, standing outside this door with security yelling at me, I understand why. It seems like you think we're a security threat rather than workers of this city with families who are educating the children of the families of these cities. Please remember that and stop treating us like this. We are here to teach the next generation about diversity, equality, human rights, the basic tenets of science and education. And we don't need to be treated like this. Please increase the budget, pay us what we're worth, provide essential services to our students, and restore academic freedom on campus. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean Grassman, followed by Richard Pusateri.
Good afternoon. Thank you for holding this hearing. My name is Jean Grassman, an associate professor at the CUNY Graduate School of Public Health. I'm professionally well qualified to speak on this topic as someone who has done occupational health practice, teaching, and research. I've previously reported on the desperate need to improve our CUNY physical infrastructure so that instructional and classified employees and students have a safer and healthier conditions in which to work and learn. So I want to ask you hardworking people about the conditions you expect when you go to work. Do you expect heat? If you do, you're in luck because at one of our campuses, our members' offices are exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So you get heat there. Do you expect your office to be dry, meaning free of water leaks? Would you find it unacceptable to have water running from the ceiling? Or having squishy carpets while using electrical equipment such as your desk computer? Our members as CUNY employees can't depend on dry environments, whether it's raining outside or not. Have you ever experienced allergies or stuffiness in response to mold or mildew? Would you want to experience that at work where you spend 5 days a week? Because where there is water intrusion, there will be mold. So consequently, we have members at Medgar Evers, City Tech, Queens College, and City College who have been made ill. You may think I'm overstating the situation, and besides, each campus has systems in place to deal with repairs. You'd call facilities or buildings and ground and make a request to have the situation repaired. One of our members did just that. There was a leak in the ceiling of their office, so they filed a work order. The work order entailed, quote unquote, fixing the leak and replacing a ceiling tile. Then the work order was closed. After the next weekend, they returned to their office to find the ceiling had collapsed onto their chair and desk, and everything was soaked, their papers, their book, their computer. So imagine this being your workstation here at CUNY. So despite the fact that we're white-collar workers, our buildings are literally falling down around and on top of us. We repeatedly bring these problems to labor management meetings and here to the trustees. We're told there's no mold, no problem, there's no money, it takes time. I urge you to have the vision to encourage corrections of the dangerous conditions created by years of neglect and underinvestment. The focus on improving working conditions comes with many levels of benefits. Not only does it reduce the burden of illness and injury for our members, but also permits us to better do the work we love at CUNY. Plus our lives depend on it. Please respond as if yours do too.
Thank you. Please leave your testimony. Richard Pusateri, followed by Natalie Milbrot.
Thank you for this opportunity to testify. I'm Richard Pusateri, Military and Veteran Services Director at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. We are deeply grateful for the financial support of veteran programs that serve over 650 veteran and military students at John Jay, the most in CUNY, and the 3,000 veteran and military students enrolled throughout the university. At John Jay, these resources provide academic and personal support for success that results in solid GPAs, high graduation rates, on time and early degree completion, and significant civic volunteerism. Since 2016, 319 of those high-performing students have earned membership in the esteemed Salute Veterans National Honor Society. My written testimony includes a profile of a current Army veteran student, former Sergeant Xavier Heredia. Xavier well represents our military veteran students who serve in every military branch, commonly in enlisted roles, and in every job category. We have students who've served in special operations, on aircraft carriers and submarines, on flight lines overseas, as medical technicians, cybersecurity operators, military police, combat engineers, and more. Wherever our military goes, our students have been there. Well enrolled John Jay students continue to serve in our nation's military. We have 250 of our students serving in the National Guard, reserves, and active duty, and we have students on the border, in New York State correction facilities, and transportation security roles, and on deployment in the Middle East, Africa, Europe, and the Pacific. Our faculty and staff accommodate their special needs to keep them in classes and to keep them progressing towards graduation. John Jay, a Best for Vets institution, also leads in preparing officers for the military, and we have 50 cadets in the CUNY ROTC program, by far the largest group in the city. We also have students who are in the Air Force ROTC, Coast Guard, and Marine Corps officer programs. John Jay and CUNY colleges offer veterans and military a valuable path for social mobility and career success. Those students improve our college community through their maturity, experience, eager academic preparation, vocational focus, involvement, willingness to help others, and deep motivation to serve. The John Jay experience helps our veterans and military find future success and to become better New Yorkers. And while studying at John Jay, they lead by example and make us a richer community and a better place. Thank you.
Thank you. Natalie Milbrot, followed by Kevin Adams.
Good afternoon. My name is Natalie Milbrot. I'm an employee of the Research Foundation, and I'll be talking about environmental concerns at CUNY. I'm honored to serve as CUNY's inaugural university archivist, and I'm leading a 3-year project funded by the Mellon Foundation to explore, unify, and uplift archives across 26 campuses. I'm here today to share some of the successes of our project with you, as well as serious problem that we need your help to remedy. Last month, we completed a major deliverable of our project, a massive physical survey of CUNY's archival collections. An archival survey is quite simply a box-by-box inspection of everything held in an archival repository. Altogether, we have discovered that CUNY holds 46,350 linear feet of archival collections. To put that number in perspective, if we lined up every box of CUNY's historical documents, photos, and other archival records, it would be nearly 9 miles long. CUNY archives are a New York City treasure, and our work has uncovered some environmental conditions that currently imperil the collections and must be addressed. In total, we found mold at 16 of the 27 archives our team surveyed. In most cases, the mold was extremely limited. We might have seen it on a few isolated boxes or on a single range of shelving near a leaky pipe. When we flagged these materials for our archivist colleagues, they were often able to replace moldy boxes immediately or successfully sought help from leadership on their campuses to remedy more pervasive problems. In other cases, the picture is more severe. The mold has exceeded our ability to contain and remediate without the assistance of external experts. My colleagues and I collected samples of mold found on archival collection materials at City Tech and Medgar Evers. The samples were analyzed by EMSL Analytical, Inc., the same lab used by DASNY for their mold analyses. The results indicate substantial evidence of mold growth, many types of mold, and evidence that the current environmental conditions support their growth. Both campuses have experienced multiple flooding incidents due to construction and HVAC issues. With every new flooding event, like the one that happened just 2 weeks ago at City Tech, mold spores fruit and spread, destroying archival collections and creating costly cleanup situations. We must dedicate money to substantial repairs and upgraded systems to ensure a dry and cool environment for our archives. Mold is not a mysterious or insurmountable problem, but it is a problem that requires a prompt response. Concealing a mold problem by painting over it or denying its existence instead of addressing it quickly and transparently makes the problem grow far worse. I ask the Board of Trustees to support the acquisition of services we need to address current and future mold outbreaks in our archives at CUNY. My team has gathered a list of vendors that can provide a knowledgeable assessment of what engineering and remediation work is needed to make our facilities safe storage spaces for the irreplaceable records of CUNY's history.
Thank you. Kevin Adams, followed by Walter Luckin.
Good evening, members of the Board of Trustees. My name is Kevin Adams, a proud PSC HEAL delegate from Medgar Evers College, named after the acclaimed civil rights leader and located footsteps away from the site where Jackie Robinson bravely broke the color barrier in baseball. I testify today about the critical importance of providing healthy, mold-free environments for college students at the Charles Evans Innes Memorial Library at Medgar Evers College and throughout the university. Exposure to mold and other indoor air quality issues frequently linked to moisture intrusion poses significant health risk. As far back as October 2023, I brought these issues to the attention of the Chancellery and the Board of Trustees, and most recently, May 2025. However, this was not the first time that faculty, staff, and students reported these issues. 2 years earlier, in 2021, after record amounts of rainfall impacted New York City, particularly during the remnants of Hurricane Ida, the library was devastated. The damage from those rainfalls warranted that the library was closed. My colleagues worked remotely until April 2022. As students, faculty, and staff returned to the spaces, they quickly discovered that the lingering effects from those rains remained. Despite numerous LIRO reports, the college has not fully and permanently resolved the underlying concerns regarding mold and moisture intrusions in campus facilities. The college has prioritized seeking technicalities and loopholes to perform the minimum necessary remedial work rather than addressing the structural issues that allow these problems to persist. On Thursday, October 30th, 2025, the library once again experienced flooding. This flooding resulted in direct damage, including harm to printers, rendering the library's elevator inoperable. The reoccurrence of water damage confirms that superficial or minimal compliance actions have failed to mitigate the underlying vulnerabilities of water intrusion. We, the students, faculty, and staff of Medgar Evers College, urgently call upon you to take immediate and decisive action by adopting the following measures. Acknowledge the severity. Formally recognize the seriousness of the problem and document health risks posed by the mold infestation that are consistently prompted by water intrusion. Allocate adequate resources. Immediately provide the necessary funding and dedicated resources for professional, comprehensive mold remediation and structural repairs, and robust ongoing preventative maintenance to ensure future outbreaks are averted. Establish a care timeline. Develop and publish a detailed remediation plan, complete with specific, actionable deadlines for addressing each stage of the repair and prevention process. Ensure transparency and communication. Commit to continuous open communication that keeps the entire college community fully informed of the progress of the remediation efforts and any potential facility disruptions. Meet directly with impacted parties. Speak directly with members of the college community who brave these conditions, not only senior administration. While remediation carries an initial cost, this expense is often outweighed by the long-term neglecting of facility health. In the CUNY 5-year plan, Chancellor Maddow said, the university's capital priorities over the next 5 years include aggressive initiatives to sustain and improve health, the safety and security of our facilities. Working towards a state of good repair on our senior college community campuses is important. Those aggressive initiatives must be
Please leave
included
your
in investing in
testimony.
mold-free testimony. Thank you.
Walter Luckin, followed by PC.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Dr. Walter Luckin IV. I am Assistant Professor of English at Queens College, where I'm attached to the SEEK program. I'm here today to testify about the environmental conditions in Delaney Hall. What has happened in Delaney Hall is unconscionable, unacceptable, and appalling. Our students deserve much better than this, and I cannot believe it has become necessary for me to come here today and deliver a reminder to that effect. My colleagues have fallen ill. Our services and faculty are scattered across campus, and I am simply appalled by the total lack of concern and care we have experienced. Human beings work and study in Delaney Hall. This is wrong and could have fully been avoided. The reports will explain the details better than I can, so my goal today is to communicate what we're asking for. Put simply, our direct pleas for a safe and healthy working environment have not been taken seriously, and our well-being has been utterly disregarded. I cannot believe the level of negligence we have experienced and the disrespect and condescension which our community has been shown throughout this process. This situation is not only disrespectful to Dr. Lloyd T. Delaney's memory, but the collective memory of several generations of Sikh community members. Please understand, this negligence is an affront to our university's identity as an engine of social mobility for the youth of New York City. Nonetheless, in our Sikh community, we believe in restorative justice. Every relationship necessarily involves episodes of harm and repair. Everyone involved in this story needs one another to succeed. For this reason, we are only asking the college's leaders to take accountability for their actions by providing us with a safe and clean environment in which to serve our students. This means two things. One, Delaney Hall must be fully cleaned and prepared to host the human beings that work there prior to our return. Two, Queens College must allow PSC to work with an independent outside agency to fully inspect the building for health and safety before we return. These steps will demonstrate a good faith commitment to making things right between our community and the college. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is PC, followed by Chad Kidd.
Thank you. Hi, I am a representative from PSC CUNY, also an adjunct in the CUNY system and a graduate assistant. And what I wanted to do today is read out the letter that was sent from thousands of PSC CUNY members for the immediate reinstatement of terminated adjunct faculty in defense of academic freedom, which was sent to Brooklyn College President Michelle Anderson, CUNY Chancellor Felix Matos Rodriguez, and the chairperson of the CUNY board, William Thompson. So if you didn't read it already, I'm here to read it to you. I am here to express my deep concern and unequivocal condemnation of the recent non-reappointment of 3 adjunct faculty members and a termination of another at the City University of New York. No reasons were provided for the non-reappointments. These dismissals, carried out in direct contradiction to unanimous departmental recommendations and without any due process, constitute a grave violation of academic freedom and a dangerous encroachment on faculty governance. This sets a terrible precedent. The administration's unilateral decision to override faculty judgment not only breaks from established practices at CUNY, but also violates widely accepted standards in higher education in this country. As the AAUP's 1994 statement on the relationship of faculty governance to academic freedom clearly affirms, the governing board and president should, that's you all, on questions of faculty status, as in other matters where the faculty have primary responsibility, concur with faculty judgment, except in rare instances and for compelling reasons which should be stated in detail. As a member of PSC CUNY, I stand with the fired 4. The McCarthyite targeting of CUNY students and workers who stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people through student suspensions, faculty firings, and other disciplinary measures is part of a broader assault on higher education that includes the Trump administration's ideological suppression of scientific and academic integrity. Their fight is our fight, and their silencing is an attack on all of us. The City University of New York now faces a critical choice. It can either continue down a path of administrative overreach and political repression, or it can recommit to its identity as a people's university, the public university of the City of New York. It can recommit to this identity as a people's university dedicated to justice, academic freedom, and critical inquiry. I call on you to immediately reinstate all 4 fired faculty members and restore their rights as educators and members of the CUNY community. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll
Chad
end,
Kidd,
I'll end by saying that I support the students and community members who are testifying
Chad Kidd,
outside
followed
today
by
as well.
Karina Mullen.
Before I present my demands and arguments for them, I want to bring to your attention the repressive consequences of your decision to record these testimonies at your hearings and post them on YouTube. through that. Creating a permanent public record of these testimonies that's easily accessible creates risk for community members, immense risk, especially now that the Trump administration, through NSPM 7, has ordered the U.S. Attorney General to label entities as domestic terrorists on the basis of dangerously vague criteria, such as being anti-capitalist, anti-American, and communist. Is my pointing out this risk of your actions anti-American? Is calling for a tuition-free CUNY anti-capitalist? Is calling for free public transit communist? We don't know, according to what's in NSPM 7, but we do know that digitally publicizing for our community's critiques of your mistakes and misdeeds will have dangerous and repressive effects on the CUNY community. Now, I'm here to urge you to do 4 things: to reinstate the fired 4 CUNY professors, to overturn the suspension of Hadika Malik, and treat her with the respect that a student of her moral integrity and intellectual acumen deserves, and to divest from those companies that enable Israel's genocidal war against Palestinians, as well as all Israeli companies, and to enact an academic boycott against Israeli universities, given their well-documented involvement in the genocide and the oppression of Palestinians in Israel. The reason you should do all these things is very simple. It is the morally right thing to do. Not to do them is to support the Israeli genocidal war. Let's look, for instance, at the immoral and illegal things that Israel has done in just the past 24 hours. Today, Israel's military chief told soldiers occupying the Gaza Strip that the so-called yellow line, behind which the Israeli military is supposed to withdraw, is now to be considered a new border for Israel. This has happened despite Trump's so-called ceasefire deal's explicit claim that Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza. Second, Reporters Without Borders announced today that for the 3rd year in a row, Israel has killed more journalists than any other country in the world. Finally, in occupied East Jerusalem yesterday, Israel raided the headquarters of the UN's Relief and Works Agency. The furniture and equipment was seized, the relief supplies for Palestinians confiscated, and the UN flag torn down and replaced with an Israeli flag. So I ask you, where will you draw the line? If you support Israel and its crimes with student tuition dollars and New York State taxpayer dollars, then how can you complain when Trump enacts similar violations of law within our own borders? If you do not take a stand against Israel's crimes, how can you take a stand against Trump's crimes against CUNY students?
The next speaker is Karina Mullen, followed by Lynn Turner.
Hi, my name is Karina Mullen. Until this summer, I was an adjunct professor at Brooklyn College and John Jay College, where I taught for 8 years. I'm also a delegate to the PSC Delegate Assembly and have been proudly involved for years in organizing against the genocide in Palestine and in solidarity with our students for a free Palestine. Teaching at CUNY, serving a working class, largely black and brown and immigrant student body has been one of the greatest honors of my life. I wonder if you all feel the same way. I wonder where your loyalties lie. I want to begin with this. I was one of the 4 adjunct faculty members who were fired without due process after years of dedicated teaching, despite unanimous departmental support and excellent teaching evaluations. These dismissals were political. CUNY weaponized our precarity as adjuncts to purge faculty whose only offense was opposing genocide and standing with our brave students. As we have stated repeatedly, our dismissal represents not only a grave violation of academic freedom, but also a dangerous encroachment on faculty governance. Every faculty and staff member at CUNY should be worried. We, the adjuncts, are the canaries in the coal mine, and if it can happen to us, it can happen to anyone. You, the board, allowed this to happen under your watch, or you were actively involved in the decision-making that made our firings possible. Rather than defend our academic freedom, CUNY's administration has aligned itself with right-wing attacks on us, reinforcing the message that political dissent at this university will be punished. That message was made painfully clear when Chancellor Matos Rodriguez threw us under the bus at the McCarthyite U.S. Congressional hearing of the Higher Education Committee, where he refused to challenge the erroneous premise of that hearing, the false conflation of anti-Zionism, that anti-Zionism equals anti-Semitism, and preferred to be cordial with fascists like Representative Randy Fine, who openly called for Israel to nuke Gaza and praised the nuclear bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, rather than defend his faculty, staff, and students. And let's be absolutely clear, CUNY's shameful decision to sign the OCR agreement handing over the personal data of CUNY workers and students to the federal government at a time when they are cruelly attacking our immigrant communities and our constitutional rights, and its weaponization of Title VI and the Henderson rules has created the infrastructure for a campus-wide crackdown on Palestine solidarity across CUNY. These are being wielded selectively and punitively, not to protect CUNY students and workers, but to silence them. This purge does not stop with adjuncts. Tenured faculty and staff have also faced investigations, and our students, especially Palestinian, Muslim, Arab, and Black students, are being suspended, banned from campus, blocked from registering, and have been gagged by disciplinary orders designed to isolate and silence them. And your recent decision to reject the appeal of Hadika Arzu-Malik, one of CUNY's most principled and courageous students, is nothing short of disgraceful.
The next
She should
speaker
be
is
protected
Lynn
and
Turner,
applauded.
followed by James Davis.
Hello, I'm Lynn Turner, adjunct lecturer at LaGuardia Community College and vice president for part-timers at the PSC. At this time of authoritarian assault on higher education, including funding cuts, attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion, university loyalty compacts, and the targeting of faculty, staff, and students for exercising rights to free speech, free assembly, and academic freedom, we demand that the CUNY administration and Board of Trustees reject all forms of complicity with this authoritarian agenda. Immediately, we call upon you to reinstate the fired-for adjunct faculty summarily non-reappointed at Brooklyn College and other CUNY campuses in retaliation for exercising exactly the free expression and academic freedom that this university purports to protect. Reinstate the fired-for. There is also a pernicious interrelationship between anti-democratic assaults and the existing gig academy business model premised upon radical contingency that CUNY has long adopted, reliant upon the labor of highly skilled part-time adjunct faculty and staff with minimal job security to endowed with low-cost labor, our labor, and maximal flexibility and control. 53% of CUNY's instructional staff are part-time. Over 60% of the teaching faculty are in part-time contingent positions. This CUNY administration, reliant upon flexibility and neoliberal austerity, fought tooth and nail in an attempt to dismantle our contractual multi-year job security provisions during the last negotiations and is presently instituting unreasonable impediments to incorporating adjunct faculty assigned to academic programs into our bargain multi-year appointments. Within this context, we contingent faculty and staff, many of us teaching 10, 20, 30, 40 years, we that teach the majority of courses, run programs, share our expertise and experience, mentor students, conduct research, and take great pride in our indispensable role in making CUNY the engine of social mobility. We remain deeply committed to our students, even while facing a continuous struggle to not become disposable ourselves, find ourselves under double pressure to toe the line and rein in teaching, scholarship, and speech essential to critical engagement in our students' learning experience for the sake of our livelihood. Repressive measures against the firing for are a message of warning to all adjuncts and undermine the essence of CUNY's mission. Our union will not toe the line. We do not accept and will continue to resist anti-democratic, authoritarian assaults on academic freedom, speech, and assembly. We do not accept and will continue to resist systemic contingency, the devaluation of our work and students. We call upon CUNY to end its dependence on the
Thank
gig
you. Please leave your
academy
testimonies. The
and
next speaker is James Davis, followed by Andrea Vasquez.
Good afternoon, James Davis, President of PSC. Thank you for this hearing. Before I speak on the topic of the CUNY budget request, the fiscal 27 budget request, I just want to echo what my colleagues have said about the urgent need to reinstate the 4 fired faculty members. We appreciate the willingness the university is showing in the fiscal 27 budget request to continue the recent practice of making a request for real substantial new operating aid, including $450 million from the state and the city and substantial new capital funding. It's clearly a recognition that CUNY cannot accept the initial guidance offered this year, as every year, by the state budget director to keep requests flat from the previous year, and we appreciate that. At the same time, it's also clear that even to begin to approach the numbers in the request, the governor and the legislature are going to need to raise new revenue. And so we hope that you will agree with and support publicly the position that the union is taking that it's time to tax the rich, especially this year, where the federal government's actions have given the wealthiest New Yorkers and corporations a huge tax gift of tax relief. For CUNY to begin to enter the discussion of worthy needs that are going to include Medicaid-funded hospitals, SNAP program, and other urgent social safety nets, the CUNY administration, including the members of this board, are going to need to join the union in pushing publicly for increased taxes on the ultra-wealthy and on the wealthiest corporations. I want to also urge you, once and for all, to sunset the austerity measures that are being imposed on many of our colleges. For example, I just want to cite one that's having a special deleterious effect on morale, and that's the mandate that for classes to run, they have to fill at 85% or more. This undoubtedly saves the colleges some money at the margins, but it comes at a real cost. It destabilizes students, it's destabilizing for faculty members, including and especially those who lose their jobs, their income, their eligibility for health insurance as a result of that benchmark. As I said, it's terrible for morale on those campuses, and it even means that classes that, for example, have an enrollment target of 36 students won't run with 30. My time is running short, and so I'm going to just urge you not even to increase the budget request that's pending before this board, but to consider rededicating it to the hiring of full-time faculty and staff. And thank you for the opportunity to testify this afternoon.
Thank you. Andrea Vasquez, followed by Jane Guskin.
Good afternoon. I'm Andrea Vasquez, PSC Secretary and a HEO at the Graduate Center's American Social History Project Center for Media and Learning. 1 year ago, in a PSC CUNY Labor Management Committee meeting, both parties agreed that defending our students from the federal government's targeting of immigrant and non-citizen students and employees was something we could and should work together on. In January of this year, PSC launched its immigrant solidarity work that has involved hundreds of members and allies in courageous and collaborative efforts to defend the rights of immigrants and, by extension, the rights of us all. Our petition directed at CUNY garnered 7,300 signatures to demand ICE stay off our campuses and that more resources be allocated to immigrant defense. PSC has also, every week since May, brought members into the federal immigration courts to support neighbors as they attempt to safely navigate the cruel system. Last semester, CUNY began what would be a successful fundraising effort to provide rapid response advice to faculty, staff, and students. We hear it's going well, and we commend you on this program. And without going into details, over the past few months, PSC members and CUNY staff and administrators have cooperated to assist vulnerable community members. But I'm here to bring to you what I believe is a significant gap and hindrance in CUNY's ability to meet its responsibility to its non-citizen students. How is it that we still have only 4 colleges with paid full-time staff, physical space, and programming devoted to helping students with the many issues related to their immigration status? These colleges are John Jay, Brooklyn, Hunter, and CCNY. This has meant that students are sometimes prioritizing attending one of the 4 staffed colleges, or they're transferring to colleges with centers. But this is most often not a possibility, and so they remain vulnerable and must navigate college on their own. Also, 4 campuses have initiatives, but these are staffed by volunteers or part-timers, and those are Queens, Baruch, Gutman, and BMCC. Volunteers meaning unpaid labor from your employees. And how can a part-time, non-teaching adjunct possibly do what a permanent full-time HEO is doing elsewhere? CUNY has also announced that each campus has been assigned a liaison to teach students, but some of these, too, are full-time staff who are volunteering to do this work on top of all of their other responsibilities. Centers like the one at the 4 campuses help lead to higher enrollment, retention, and overall student success because the full-time staff members have the time, skills, and resources to consistently meet the needs of our remarkable students who should be guaranteed full support and not partial or makeshift help. We often say that budgets are political documents that demonstrate what we care about. I fully understand that CUNY has many needs and we're historically underfunded. But right now, there is an existential threat to our institutions because our students and their families are experiencing an existential threat each and every day. We must continue to work together whenever possible, but relying on the unpaid labor of our members does not demonstrate your commitment.
Guskin, followed by Mobina Hashmi.
I am a CUNY adjunct, a CUNY student, a CUNY alumna, and the daughter of a CUNY alumnus. We see you trying to intimidate us, and especially students, with new policies because you don't want to hear us calling you out at a public hearing for a public university. You are cowards and bullies. Shame! We see you punishing CUNY students and workers for protesting and speaking out at this public university against an ongoing genocide. And we see you especially targeting Muslim students and exploiting the vulnerability of adjuncts with your firings, suspensions, disciplinary action, and police violence. You are cowards and bullies. Shame. We see you appealing a court decision rather than disclosing this public university's investments in genocide. Shame! CUNY's institutional violence is your shame, not ours. We see you spreading this institutional violence across our campuses through unsafe conditions for workers and students. At Queens College, where I teach, construction has been ongoing since June at historic Delaney Hall, home and hub for the Sikh program, College Now, Africana Studies, and other key programs for student inclusion and success. The administration, with full complicity of CUNY Central and you, the Board of Trustees, has done nothing to protect the health of workers and students in the face of extremely hazardous conditions, including proven silica dust. Delaney's programs got no help from the administration with relocating to safer spaces. They had to manage it all themselves after numerous people became seriously ill. Many are still sick. Even this week, we are hearing of regular campus maintenance workers, those who routinely sweep and mop classrooms and hallways, being sent into this toxic building to clean up hazardous construction dust without even minimal considerations like protective equipment, training, or hazard pay. Those who refuse are being threatened with discipline. Shame! All progress has come through protest. We will not stop. We will not rest. The CUNY Board of Trustees is illegitimate and is tainting the history of this people's university with shame. Shame! 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 Shame on you! Shame on the trustees! Shame!
Mobina Hashmi, followed by Craig Bernardini.
Good afternoon. My name is Mobina Hashmi, and I'm a full-time faculty member at Brooklyn College and co-chair of the Brooklyn College chapter of the PSC CUNY. Chancellor Matos Rodriguez, Chairperson Thompson, and other members of the Board of Trustees, I'm here today to say to you, reinstate the Fired For. drop punitive disciplinary actions against all students engaged in nonviolent protest, and drop investigations into faculty and staff conduct that are clearly meant to intimidate and silence us. I support the students and community members who are testifying outside today and condemn CUNY's new policies that intimidate and discourage students from testifying inside. I'm here today to share with you the ways in which you have blatant disregard for your own policies. You do not follow those policies. I'm one of 6 full-time members at Brooklyn College who were investigated. I want to share with you what that process was like. You said, Chancellor, at the July hearing in front of the Congress, that anybody that breaks our rules and policies, there'll be an investigation. We'll investigate. And if there's any disciplinary action to be taken, we'll take it. We have made very clear our time and place, manner policies on our campuses to make sure individuals can exercise their right. This is simply not true. The zero tolerance policy that you talked about on July 9th was never communicated to us. It's in the emergency plan, but yet it was never communicated. The first interaction that any students at Brooklyn College had on May 8th with the administration was campus security manhandling them to remove the tents. These were students protesting peacefully. My adjunct colleagues, the fired 4, received non-reappointment letters in mid-June, almost 6 months ago. They still don't know what they did that was so appalling they can't be allowed to teach at Brooklyn College. The clear message to the rest of us is to shut up and to mimic the actions of those in power. This is the very essence of the chilling of free speech, free-floating anxiety and fear that leads to self-censorship. On the first day of fall, 6 full-timers, including me, received an email from our provost asking us to come in for a conversation about our conduct. As we pushed back, it became clear, the tone became less collegial, and it became clear that this was an investigatory meeting that would lead to discipline. She did not tell us what policy governed the investigation. She did not provide us a notice of allegations. She did not provide us any evidence. And she asked us 2 questions that simply asserted that we'd violated the rules and public order and we'd disregarded orders to disperse. She asked 2 questions. Did we plan the protest? Did we hear an order to disperse? I responded that I had not heard anything directed at me. 8 weeks later, I got a guidance memo from HR that said that I interfered with public safety's ability to do their job, and I was mandated various kinds of trainings. Let me be clear, there was no investigation report, no policy that governed this. I got a guidance memo chiding me for behavior I did not engage in, that I was never asked about.
Craig Bernardini,
and that was
next
never
speaker.
in a conversation
Craig Bernardini, followed by Sophia Apteker. Craig Bernardini, your time has started. Craig, your time has started.
Good evening. My name is Craig Bernardini. I'm an English professor at Hostos Community College and currently co-chair of the Hostos chapter of the Professional Staff Congress at Hostos. I'd like to begin by sharing with you a statement that our executive committee of the Hostos chapter shared with our college president earlier this semester. The executive committee of the Hostos PSC stands in solidarity with the fired 4 adjuncts for their political activity at Brooklyn College, the quote-unquote fired 4, and call for their immediate reinstatement. We reject the false charge of anti-Semitism used to silence speech, condemning genocide and expressing support for Palestinian self-determination, and more broadly, the weaponization of anti-Semitism for the silencing of debate and dialogue around Israel-Palestine. We believe such silencing has a broader chilling effect on the speech and debate necessary for a thriving academic culture. Furthermore, we express our disappointment in CUNY Chancellor Felix Matos Rodriguez, who, when he had the opportunity to reject this false narrative being used to attack academic freedom, research, and the intellectual autonomy of academic institutions, as well as the working class immigrant and minority students who comprise much of CUNY's population, chose instead to submit to the neo-McCarthyist witch hunts of right-wing politicians, unquote. The statement ends by, quote, calling on our Hostos administration to publicly stand for policies that actually protect the safety and civil liberty of students, faculty, and staff, while also protecting academic freedom and the autonomy of teaching and research carried on by institutions like Hostos CUNY. Today, I call on the Board of Trustees and the Chancellor to do the same, publicly stand for policies that actually protect the safety and civil liberties of students, faculty, and staff, while also protecting academic freedom and the autonomy of teaching and research. For the past decade plus, I've taught an English curriculum focused on early America, and I've had the opportunity to teach Arthur Miller's play, The Crucible, numerous times. As you might remember from your own high school or college days, Miller uses the Salem witch trials of 1692 to allegorize McCarthyist America in the 1950s. Not surprisingly, the play has never felt more prescient. You might also remember that its flawed hero, John Proctor, is ultimately himself accused of witchcraft and sentenced to hang. At the end of Act 3, he lashes out at the liege judge, Thomas Danforth, as well as himself, saying, quote, "A fire is burning. I hear the boot of Lucifer. I see his filthy face, and it is my face and yours, Danforth. For them that quail to bring men out of ignorance as I have quailed, and as you quail now, when you know in all your black hearts this to be a fraud. God damns our kind especially, and we will burn." Point here, not to contest the reality of anti-Semitism or Islamophobia. It is rather to state unequivocally that firing adjunct faculty and harassing full-time faculty for their political activism does nothing to protect anyone from the former. To assert that it does is in fact fraud, and you know in your heart it's a fraud.
Thank
and finally,
you.
in quailing
Please
to
leave your
bring men out of
testimony. The
ignorance,
next
as
speaker
Proctor
is
puts
Sophia
it, you are failing in
Apteker, followed by Audrey Lindsay.
My name is Sophia Apteker. I'm an associate professor of urban studies at the School of Labor and Urban Studies, and I'm the co-chair of the Graduate Center PSC chapter. I will read the testimony of one of the 4 Brooklyn College professors who have been fired and have not been provided with a reason or due process. All of the fired 4 are excellent teachers, and we all contribute to our union and to CUNY. What we all have in common is that we have spoken up against the genocide in Gaza. Along with our firings, CUNY management is engaged in repression of students, including the suspension of Khadika Malik. This firing has felt dehumanizing. It's like being faced with a brick wall that doesn't see us as human beings or valuable members of the CUNY community. I'm passionate about my work as an educator, work that has been ripped away from me with no explanation. Here's what some of my peers and students have said about me. I want you to ask yourself if I sound like a teacher who should be fired. The instructor has personal qualities that are very suitable. She speaks clearly using understandable language, even while presenting complex ideas, and is quite receptive of and open to students' ideas, including those that are radically opposed to her own. One of the most valuable aspects of this course was the safe and inclusive environment that the professor cultivated. Without your guidance, it would not have been possible for us to have such productive and respectful discussions. I appreciate your willingness to listen to our ideas, to challenge us to think deeply, and to provide constructive feedback. There's nothing I would change about this class because it models a community of diversity, warmth, safety, and acceptance, qualities that are desperately needed in every classroom community today. Does this sound like someone who should be fired? And fired without any due process? Over the heads of her department chairs that want her to teach. All of the fired 4 have stellar teaching records. CUNY management refuses to tell us what the charges against us are, a gross violation of due process and free speech rights. It is right out of the McCarthyism playbook. The Donald Trump playbook to fire people without letting them defend themselves or even telling them what they're accused of. This is my story, but it is a story that is echoed in all of the fired 4. We're excellent teachers, part of the fabric that makes CUNY great. We have not done anything wrong. Indeed, I believe that the fact that all 4 of us have been active in the movement, speaking up against the genocide, is a good thing. Reinstate the CUNY fired 4. End this McCarthyist witch hunt on students and faculty.
Thank you. Audrey Lindsay, followed by Beth Fernhold.
Reinstate the fired 4. Yes. Hello, my name is Audrey Lindsay. I'm an adjunct lecturer at Gutman Community College, and I am here to talk about the indignities of working in the CUNY system as an adjunct, more specifically the need to give all of us our retro pay, although I absolutely and wholeheartedly want to amplify the message to reinstate the Fired For as well. I absolutely love teaching at Gutman. I love my students. I love helping them connect their work lives and their experience of New York City to the material. Being an adjunct means that I get kind of the last pick of classes, whichever ones the full-time faculty don't want, irregular times. And that's something that I've been less able to do since my son was born last year. If the only time available to teach is one when I can't get childcare that costs less than I get paid, then I can't take that position. So I've been on and off since becoming a mother. And as a result, I have not received my signing bonus. That ship has sailed for the previous contract. But I've also not received my retro pay, and that grievance is ongoing. And so that's why I'm here today to talk about holding up your end of the deal and giving retro pay to adjuncts. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth Fernhold, followed by Elizabeth Hovey.
Good evening. I'm Beth Fairholt. I'm a professor of early childhood education at Brooklyn College. I'm here to urge you to reinstate the Fired For. And I'm going to read from an open letter to the Brooklyn College faculty from the faculty at the School of Education, which we sent just last week and which is signed by 43 people. We have about 20 tenured faculty members at the School of Education this semester. We are faculty members in the School of Education at Brooklyn College who stand in solidarity with our investigated and fired colleagues, including a beloved and respected adjunct member of 2 School of Education departments. Recent actions taken by the Brooklyn College administration have violated long-standing procedures and relationships that have sustained trust on our campus and within our School of Education community. Brooklyn College has historically been committed to supporting the growth and success of our undergraduate and graduate students, to upholding academic freedom and free speech, including the inclusion of diverse voices, ideas, beliefs, research agendas, and curricula, and protecting faculty governance and shared decision-making. However, the adjunct firings and faculty and student investigations have revealed 4 critical areas where the administration has broken with these commitments. CUNY bylaws entrust departmental appointments committees with personnel recommendations, a key feature of Brooklyn College's faculty governance. A committee's direct collegial knowledge of an instructor's work is indispensable to ensuring these decisions are both sound and equitable and based on academic and curricular needs. The events affecting our campus community since May 2025 have directly contradicted the School of Education's mission statement, which states, through collective action, teaching, and research, we develop our students' capacities to create socially just, intellectually vital, aesthetically rich, and compassionate communities that value equity and excellence, access, and rigor. This contradiction became a tangible threat when a respected colleague who is faithfully following that mission was fired without fair process. We also speak about lack of trust and safety in our community by firing the 4 adjuncts without following faculty governance. You have created a climate of distrust and insecurity, and most importantly, the administration's failure to model the spirit of dialogue. In closing, New York City's future teachers and the thousands of children and youth whom they teach are suffering. Our commitment to these students is compromised when faculty cannot safely teach vital topics. Without protections for open academic inquiry, we fail.
Thank you. Please leave
the
your
very
testimony.
students we are
Elizabeth
entrusted
Hovey.
to serve.
Elizabeth Hovey.
Hello. Thank you for having this hearing. Thank you for being here. My name is Elizabeth Hovey. It's only my 6th time of testifying, and my name is always mispronounced. It's fine. I am an adjunct faculty member at John Jay College, and I am the co-chair of the faculty chapter at John Jay College. I need to point out that it's really unusual to be an adjunct leader of a chapter, that is because adjuncts do not have time to fight for our own rights. That's why half the people that you hear speaking up for the adjuncts who were fired are full-timers. Being an adjunct and knowing that I was going to be here is a combination of things that did not lead to me getting to prepare remarks. You've heard many good prepared remarks. I only have one thing. I'm going to talk for the 3 minutes because I know that's important. But I have only one prepared remark, and I'm going to precede it by pointing out that you have power, and you think you are good people. And I want you to know that your job in this era is to protect an important institution that has served our country extremely well, and that's higher education. And it's been said that the people of this country don't really know the value of higher education, and that's why it's really sad that I was listening to you internationally, because I knew you were testifying before Congress when you didn't stand up for higher education. So, higher education is essential to a just society because it fosters critical thinking and collective inquiry in pursuit of truth and justice, work that is only possible when academic freedom is fully protected. Now, I think that is a really good justification for our project of higher education. And I don't know who said it first, but I know who brought it to my attention, and that is the fired one. At John Jay, we know who one of the adjuncts is who lost their job. I want you to think about that. The other 3 have not felt safe enough to reveal their identity. But Karina Mullen is the one who used that expression. Now we're down to 30 seconds. I want you to know that it is my honor to teach the history of justice at John Jay. And my students used to come into class, come into the semester, knowing that they cared about the First Amendment. And they all left, and some of them came knowing that the 14th Amendment is the most important thing because it's about due process and equality before the law. Don't forget them. Don't forget them. And defend higher education. Reinstate the fired 4.
Yes. Since there are no other listed speakers, I thank everyone for coming this evening. This hearing is adjourned. My pleasure. Yeah, see you on Monday, I think, right?
Go out the back.